The very first step of improving the quality of your brain revolves around something called neuron bioenergetics, which is the ability for neurons to have ATP, ATP being the energy substance that neurons need in order to operate. Just like how your automobile needs fuel, neurons also need fuel. They just have a fancy name for it, that being ATP. So, the very first step of improving the health of your brain is centered around getting fuel to your neurons, which in large part is centered around having healthy pumps that can distribute that fuel. These pumps are what we call mitochondria. So, fighting off cognitive decline and improving the overall quality of your brain will involve improving and having healthy mitochondria. Don't look at me all crazy. I know that you've heard that word before. It was probably way back in grade school, but you've heard it before. You were probably taught that the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. But what exactly does that mean? Think about it like this. The mitochondria is the gas station or pump in which you get your fuel from. So mitochondria produces ATP, and that ATP can then go and be used by our neurons in this instance. Just like how you get fuel from the pump and it powers your automobile. Within this article, they stated that bioenergetic dysfunction is an increasingly recognized driver of the progression and onset of neurodegenerative diseases. This is not surprising given the unique bioenergetic considerations of the brain and central nervous system. Listen closely to this. The brain utilizes approximately 20% of the body's energy output while only comprising approximately 2% of total body weight. The brain is an energy expensive organ and is very susceptible to disruptions in bioenergetic function. So, what they're saying is that the brain comprises a fairly small portion of our overall body, but requires the most amount of energy when compared to any other single organ. They also state that mitochondria play a major role in metabolic processes in the brain where the continuous production of ATP is required. Which makes sense, right? It's our most important organ. If your heart stops, you can keep it running through machines or even get it replaced if need be. But once you're brain dead, that's when the credits start to roll. So if our brain requires this substantial amount of energy, it would probably be in our best interest to keep those energy producing cells, aka your mitochondria, as healthy as possible, don't you think? Now, in most instances, people don't all of a sudden experience cognitive decline short of some sort of traumatic event. They will first lose endurance. They will complain of things like, I can't read as long as I used to. My focus and attention span is getting shorter. I can't drive as long. This is telling you that your brain is degenerating. But all of our brains are degenerating. So, more importantly, it's telling you that you either aren't able to produce more mitochondria and or the mitochondria that you have are inefficient. And as that progresses, the neurons that are supplied by those mitochondria begin to degenerate. With that being said, chronic fatigue and depression are very common complaints of early cognitive decline. These patients will have complaints such as always mentally exhausted, but especially at work. As compared to the weekends, they feel pretty good. And that would be due to not having constant input to their brains, like solving tasks or whatever it may be that they're doing at work, as compared to just, relaxing and hanging out on the weekend. That constant input exceeds the ability for the mitochondria to produce enough energy for that neuron to operate on all cylinders. So, stated simply, even the fanciest cars go nowhere without fuel.